Hi, welcome back to Next Third, Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, your founder and host, and today I'm going to start with a question. And that question is, what does it look like to deal with your emotions with intentionality? What does it look like to be intentional with yourself regarding your emotions? There's 9 key emotions. There's 20 some emotions, but 9 that I focus on. That's sadness, happiness, fear, anger, shame, guilt, surprise, disgust, and joy. Those are the key 9 emotions that we all go through, we all wrestle with at one time or another, and we experience. You know, as men, talking with as many guys as I do, it's pretty common that men tend to suppress their emotions, right? They tend to avoid them. They don't want to be seeming too emotional about anything. They want to stay cool. They want to stay in control. But emotions really are gifts. Emotions are fantastic. They can and they should be tools. Emotions should be tools, and those tools help us uncover and reveal both strengths and weaknesses in our lives. You know, when we experience emotions, they're tied to something, right? They're tied to an event, they're tied to something that is happening, a circumstance that is happening, tied to a memory, tied to something we're observing. And that should be something that we're like, where is that in me? Like, what is part of me is that affecting, that this emotion is truly affecting? We must learn, I believe, to master our emotions. The tools of emotions are something that we can wield in our hands as masters and craftsmen, so to speak, of our lives. We need to learn to partner with them, right? Partner with your emotions on this journey that you're on, this journey that we're on to make the next third of our life the best third of our life. You know, we talk all the time about 5 pillars of next third, best third. There's the thought life, there's your physical life, the condition, what you eat, your nutrition, your exercise. There's relationships, there's identity issues, and then there's the emotions. And the emotions are tied to all of these pillars. And on this journey of examining our lives and taking honest appraisal and living with intentionality to make our next third our best third, we have to come to grips with emotions. The worst thing we can do as men is hide, right? Run from your emotions, suppress your emotions. I'm telling you, that causes so much damage in men. Because if you're suppressing your emotions, if you're running from your emotions, what you're really doing is you're closing yourself off from who you really are, and you're also closing yourself off from how you can benefit others, your loved ones, your friends, even in your business life. The question that I ask is this: do we rule our emotions and control our emotions, or do our emotions rule us? Do they control us? We can have a conscious control of our emotions. Emotions come up and they surprise us sometimes. We think it's all subconscious, but you can actually take conscious control over your emotions, and that's how you can use them with intentionality to really get down deep into who you are. Getting ready for this, I was thinking about myself, and one of those things, and I'm a very emotional guy. I'm all over the gamut, you know, that's just how I am. That's my makeup. As a baby of the family, you know, I'm all over the place. But there's one emotion that I've always had trouble experiencing, and that's anger. Now, for a lot of you guys, you're like, oh no, I get angry all the time. I got angry, but I didn't deal with anger well. And I started something, several months back. I mentioned this on an earlier podcast, where I decided that I was going to fulfill a boyhood dream, and I wanted to be an actor back then. And so I started taking acting classes, and it's been so much fun, and it's been so revealing, because the premise of the school that we're in is that you want to live truthfully in an imaginary circumstances. And so all of our exercises, all of our disciplines are about us living truthfully in these imaginary circumstances that we're in. Well, as I'm going through, I'm experiencing and being able to emote and demonstrate joy and sadness and all this different parts of these different emotions, even some regret and things like that. But when it came to demonstrating anger, I really couldn't do it. I had a hard time expressing anger. And I was like, why is that? why can't I express this anger? What I would do is I'd be in this exercise, this activity, and it comes to the point where I could either blow up, right? Blow up with my partner in the scene, blow up and get extremely angry, or I could slough it off and say, I don't care. And that's what I ended up doing so often. I would just slough it off, not embrace it, not hold on and explore that anger. And I would just avoid it. And so finally I decided, I'm like going, there's something wrong with me that I need to figure out. And I realized that ever since I was a boy, around age 10, 11 years old, where there was some abuse in my life, is that I had suppressed anger ever since then. And yet I was extremely angry over what had occurred. But I would have had to have been angry at loved ones. I would have had to have been angry at, I just didn't know how to express it, and so I didn't express it. So over all the years of my life, when it would get down to something like where I'd be getting angry and I'd be sensing it, I had this fear that if I ever really let go, if I really ever demonstrated my anger, that I wouldn't stop. I was scared. I was afraid that I would go into a rage that was uncontrollable because I had suppressed this anger for decades. During my acting classes and then during just my personal time alone, I started to excavate this issue of anger in my life. I started to dig down, and I says, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And as I dug it down and I started bringing up this anger, and I could look at it and I could see it, and I started to think about the different times in my life, and I started reimagining and remembering times in my life where I was so angry, but I suppressed it and I didn't deal with it. I was able to go and, in a real true sense, set myself free, right? I got to the point where I could deal with those situations, forgive if I needed to forgive, release if I needed to release. But I've gotten to this place now where I can demonstrate anger because it's good. It's a tool, right? It's a tool for me. If I feel some anger, express it. I don't let it rule me, but I'm not afraid of it anymore, because if you suppress any of your emotions, if you don't deal with them, you think that you're controlling them. You're not. The emotions are actually controlling you. Does that make sense? So there's men that I talk to who have a real hard time expressing true joy, let's say. They find it hard to laugh. They find it hard to be celebratory. They just are stoics. What's happening is they're not embracing joy. And so joy, that emotion, is actually ruling over them. It has control over them, even though they think they're in charge, and they're not. So in all these different emotions, these 9 emotions, we can dig down deep and we can excavate them. And when we do, it helps us understand our true identity. Our true identity as far as who I really am. I'm not what I do, right? It's not the roles I play. But if you can dig and embrace these emotions, you'll find out so much about yourself. And I'm telling you, I don't care if you're 50, 60, 70, 40, whatever age you may be, to discover the true you and then to be able to embrace yourself, man, that's life-changing. It's liberating. I've said this before, I'm a Christian, and one of the scriptures says, love others as you love yourself. That sounds great, but what if you don't really love yourself? What if you don't really know yourself? How could you possibly truly love others in the fullest capacity? So we have to get to that place where we embrace our true identity by excavating and dealing with your emotions and ruling over them and using them as a tool. You can discover who you really are. I'm telling you, for me, it was a breakthrough. It was a breakthrough when I was able to free myself, right? Liberate myself from the control of anger. And anyone who knew me would say, well, he never gets angry. Well, that's not a badge I should have been wearing. That was unhealthy, right? That was completely unhealthy. But now I've had a breakthrough. I've liberated myself from that. And in that breakthrough, in that liberation, I can heal. There's wounds in my past, even the wounds that started this all back when I was 10, 11 years old, that I've actually got healing, finally, decades later. And by being that man who examined my life, took honest appraisal, right? By examining my emotions, taking honest appraisal, and then with intentionality started excavating and looking at them and looking at the cause and looking at the root and where it came from. I have set myself on on a path that I truly can have the best third of my life. I can truly love others. I can truly love myself. I can truly say that emotions don't control me anymore. I have an extremely healthy relationship with my emotions now. My emotions on the other side, some of them just ran away, just ran right over me, right? Sometimes I would get so sad that it was almost uncontrollable, almost on the depression side. Well, I don't struggle with sadness anymore like that. It's because I've looked at the root. I've looked at sadness. I've looked at guilt. I've looked at shame. I've looked at happiness, and I've been able to say, how has that affected me? Has it been ruling over me? And where did that control start with those emotions over me? So what I'd like to challenge you to do, this is the last of our series of starting off 2025 with intentionality on the 5 pillars. But what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to get alone by yourself. Get alone by yourself and examine emotions in your life. Get a pad of paper. I think journaling and writing out things is so powerful. Get a pad of paper and just write down these 9 emotions: sadness, happiness, fear, anger, shame, guilt, surprise, disgust, joy. And see if any of those in any way cause you to kind of push back against, that you can examine and say, hey, I don't like that. I don't want to go there with that, or I have a problem with that. And then just start intentionally examining how you got there, right? Write it all out. Maybe something happened to you. Maybe there was some disappointment. Maybe there were some actions taken against you, right? Who knows? Go on a journey. Be brave enough. Be courageous to dig down and excavate and find out, why has these emotions or this emotion had this control over me? Why have I avoided it? Why don't I experience it, right? You're supposed to experience all of these. They're gifts. You're supposed to experience all 9 of these. Take your time. Examine each one of these. Write out as long as give yourself a life story. Just write it out. Just journal. Where did it come from? What do you remember about it? How did it affect you? What feelings does it cause you to do? I mean, what actions do you take when these emotions come up? And then start to turn the narrative. And sometimes it might be you have to forgive somebody. Sometimes it might be you just have to reconcile that life just happened that way, right? Whatever it may be, you might need to go there in prayer. You might need to go with God and just say, God, I need freedom here. But the goal is to come out on top. The goal is to enjoy your emotions, embrace your emotions, use your emotions as tools. When these emotions come up, be free enough to express them, right? All along, gaining control more and more and more. So I hope this helps you guys. It's been helping me. This journey has changed my life. And I really do want to see you have the next third of your life be the very, very best third. If you do me a favor, as always, if you'd like this, if you'd subscribe, comments are great. Share it with friends, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.